Welcome to our first ArtiMesh tutorial. In this video, we'll kick off by introducing some of the core features while modeling a fun beginner-friendly project, a small little cactus plant. We'll cover the basics of 3D modeling step by step so you can build confidence as you create. And once we've finished with this cactus, we're going to have a separate video later where we'll begin preparing it for 3D printing. Okay, let's get started. This is the start screen of ArtiMesh. If you're opening up the app for the first time, your screen will look a little bit different. You're not going to have all these files. You'll only see the one option to create a new file. Just a quick tip, if you're ever in need to modify an existing file, you can long press on it to access options like delete, duplicate, share, or rename. Okay, let's go ahead and create a new file and just dive in. This is the main view of our modeling interface. This features our default cube in the center. You can easily control the view of your screen by using simple gestures. Use a one-finger drag to rotate the view. Pinch with 2 fingers to zoom in and out, and swipe with 2 fingers to pan across the screen. These gestures will make navigating your workspace smooth and intuitive. To work on our model, we'll use the Create, Select, and Modify buttons located at the bottom right of the screen. These tools will let us add new shapes, choose specific parts of the model to edit, and also make changes to refine our design. We're going to start with a fresh slate. To do that, we're going to click our initial default cube, click Modify, and then Delete Object. To create our cactus, we're going to start from a pre-made shape. We'll click our Create button in the bottom right, and then choose Cylinder. We'll change the number of sides to make it look a little bit smoother, and then hit Submit. Now that we have our new cylinder, this is a good time to say that each object is made up of faces, edges, and vertices. Faces are made up of multiple edges. Each edge contains exactly 2 vertices. None of these items can exist on their own, and they must all be used together. We can switch between these views of an object, vertices, edges, and faces using the toolbar at the center top of the screen. Here we'll switch to the vertex mode at the top and then use a rectangle select tool on the left of the screen to select some points. We should also mention that at the top right of the screen, there are undo buttons. If you make a bad selection or accidentally move something, you can use these buttons to go back to the last selection and state. It's also worth mentioning that you can use 2 more gestures to easily undo and redo. If you tap the screen with 2 fingers, that'll perform an undo, and if you tap it with 3, it'll perform a redo. Using the face mode at the top of the screen, we can also experiment with the gesture button. The gesture button is on the bottom left of the screen and can be used to multi-select. Holding the gesture button and tapping a face will multi-select. Tapping without holding the gesture button will only select one face at a time. Double tapping the gesture button will also do a shortcut to select all objects, faces, edges, or vertices, depending on the mode you're in at the top of the screen. Double tapping again will deselect all. If you're in edge or face mode at the top of the screen, holding the gesture button will allow you to use the position handle to automatically extrude faces. Extrude faces will extend your model and add new vertices, edges, and faces to modify. Using the scale tool on the left side of the screen, we're going to start selecting some of our vertices, and as we edit these, we're going to use that scale tool to change the shape of our mesh. If it's too hard to use the rectangle select to get some of our vertices, we're going to use a nice shortcut to select an edge loop. An edge loop is going to go the entire way around our cylinder. Triple tapping with the gesture button will allow us to select an edge loop quickly. You'll first have to select a single edge and then triple tap it to select the edge loop. Enabling X-ray mode under the settings button will be able to see through our object and see the entire edge loop easily. Continuing to use the Move, Scale, and Select tools, we'll be able to model the main part of our cactus. Now that we have the main part of our cactus, we're going to use the modify duplicate command to create an arm for that cactus. Using the scene view on the left side of the screen, we'll be able to see a list of our objects, and by clicking the eye, we'll be able to show or hide other objects. Showing and hiding other objects will allow us to work without accidentally hitting the objects we've already created. We'll be able to focus on just one. In addition to the move and scale tools on the left side of the screen, there's also a rotate. We'll use these in addition to the select to add a bend to our initial shape and create an arm of the cactus. Now that we're happy with the arm of our cactus, we're going to duplicate it again. We'll have to switch to object mode and then select it. And after doing that, we can modify duplicate again. Now that it's duplicated, we're going to use the mirror command, and using that mirror command along the Z axis will allow us to flip the arm for the other side. We'll repeat this process to create a new cylinder and shape it for the pot of our cactus plant. After we're happy with all our shapes, we're going to show them all and do one more thing to make them look a little less blocky. Now that we're at this point, I'm going to mess with the positions and the scales until the cactus looks how I want it to. While in object mode, double tapping the gesture button will allow us to select all of our pieces of our cactus and pot. Now we'll use the modify, subdivide, and Catmull-Clark. This is an algorithm that will subdivide and smooth our object and make it look a little better for printing. Now that I'm happy with the final result, I'm going to make sure that this file has been saved. This file should have been auto-saved, but we can manually force a new save as well in the menu button at the very top left of the screen. Now that we're done with this mesh, we'll have future tutorials on how we can apply physically based materials, paint details onto it, render some nice art, 3D print it, or import it into a Unity 3D project, which is a video game engine. I hope that you enjoyed this initial video and that you'll check out our future ones.